It was really hard to watch. Not because I had a particular rooting interest in America's favorite young fascist. It was particularly because, and I was thinking about this, like, what tends to be the tripwire? What tends to trip things up in art or entertainment when it gets a little close to reality?
Yeah.
And
I wanted to ask you about this.
yeah, and so one of the things that I think is the problem is when you have programs like extrapolations on Apple TV Plus, for example, or I mean, we always pick the same straw men punching bags, and I apologize because these are noble pursuits. We often mention the last season of The Wire too, and I think what we find a little bit jarring about those shows is that they begin from a place of earnestness. They are, in a sense, polemics, that some people are good and circumstances are bad, and why is no one paying attention to this? Why aren't we more aware? Why aren't we more aware of bad things happening and good people are being silenced? And I think that can be jarring because in our lived experience, donating to Act Blue daily,
For instance.
for just hypothetically.
Or like being out in Maricopa and just making sure everything is going according to plan, right?
Just eyes on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Right.
watching. Arms folded from the corner. Just giving off very neutral vibes.
Wearing a crisp white shirt
Yeah.
tucked into slacks.
Yes, depleted khakis.
Yeah.
It's fine. Can a riot be too bourgeois? Who could say? That our lived experience doesn't often track in terms of like pure good or pure bad, or that there's forces who are doing their best with earnestness and malign forces. What this show does so excruciatingly is just turn a camera on the rotten to the core cynicism of everything. That rings true. That there is this, like, what does Kendall say? Does the poison drip down? Does the poison
Yes.
drip through?
Yeah.
I'm misquoting it.
But it's when he was asking, and honestly, probably the most cliched prestige TV moment that the show has really done is this, like, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Conversation that he has with Shiv, which is really saved by the fact that they're both lying to one another.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that scene specifically, and we'll get to it, I think, when we talk about more of the emotional heft of the episode. But that really, the way terrible things happen in the world is enough smart people standing around going, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right.
All I'm doing is just telling another
Or
person
enough
something
people
that
who
someone told
are
me to
in
do.
the situation that Jess and Greg find themselves in at the end of the episode,
It-
which is a really interesting scene, I thought.
In an episode of brilliant storytelling choices, elevating Jess, who is played by a really strong actress, I think Juliana Canfield is her name. She was on Why the Last Man. She's been on a lot of things. She doesn't get scenes like that often.
No.
And what we did was we went from literally upstairs to downstairs for a moment. And these are the people who history will not necessarily remember. The books that Gabriel Sherman at Vanity Fair write about the infamous Mencken election, like, probably won't talk about their role in it. But that was a human moment.
Right. And it's even that idea, it's like, I thought what they talk about in that scene seems to be like, Greg is basically this bag man. He's not.
Yeah.
Greg not going downstairs is not going to stop Mencken from winning the election or being declared the winner of the election. But they almost for a second are like, do we take a stand here? Like, do we not? Do we just sort of like, you could always wait for a minute and not do this? And Tom's right behind him. Tom is.
No, this is the modern condition.
Yeah.
Like, if the wheels are greased, like, what does slowing things up do?
Yeah.
What can any of us actually do? History isn't made. Like, I mean, I feel like history isn't made by, like, Sienna Miller saying the right thing to a whale that talks in Meryl Streep's voice. History is made by.
It's not made that way.
It's well, we can circle back. That's TBD. But it is made by 10,000 seemingly banal or benign decisions, right? That lead to this suddenly inescapable moment. I mean, Roman is, the famous, like, William F. Buckley thing about conservatives standing on the battlements yelling "stop," right? Like, he's standing up there with a bullhorn and a fire hose saying "go, go, go, go,
Yeah,
go."
I mean, like actually, there's a great line where I think Tom says to the kids, the siblings, as they're sort of invading the newsroom, he's like, the generals aren't supposed to be on the battlefield. Like, there's always like a rule that Logan had that we stay out of, like, the news gathering. Now, obviously, that probably could be in Logan's day fixed by just calling Sid and saying, like, I want this. I mean, we were in the room with them in What It Takes. in season 3, where they essentially just pick Mencken. There's no democratic process. They're just deciding between the vice president and Salgado and Mencken, and he's just like, we're going to go with him because Roman has convinced me that he is a T-Rex who's going to do blockbuster business. And when they decide at the end to pick this guy, not only is it rooted in the trauma of losing their father, but it's also rooted in he's good television.
And he'll do the thing that they want in the
He'll-
deal.
yeah.
And you know, they're just... It's incredible the weakness in these characters. Kendall especially, and we should go through the siblings. But, like, they are like the rest of us, being like, there are guardrails. The markets will hold them in
Yeah, markets
check.
will hold the leash. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
There were guardrails at your fake news network that just didn't even make it through dinner time. They didn't even make it through the first round of bodega sushi delivery
So
before being destroyed.
it's interesting that you brought up this idea of the reality within Succession, because so much of the show takes place in these places that 99.9999% of us will never ever even get a sniff of. You know, these luxurious estates in Scandinavia or in Palo Alto or, you know, or like Santa Barbara or, you know, Croatia or wherever they're going. It's just like no one's ever even going to catch a glimpse of this
Yacht
place.
life.
Yeah. But this is the closest I think that this show has ever been to, and with the exception of some of the Ravenhead stuff in the past, this is what it's like to work at Fox on election night. But it's Jesse's vision of it. So of course it's kind of, the dials are turned a little bit. You've got people doing cocaine behind the whiteboards. You've got touchscreens breaking, and you've got these crucial inflection points where actual real events are being processed and then contextualized to suit certain narratives, right?
Yeah.
And that's how the sausage is made. But the sausage is being made by one crazy butcher in Roman. You know, I mean, it really is. He is just like a force of nature that's bowling over the entire process here.
Yeah, I mean, also it's a reminder that everything actually is a choice. It's not like there's just some tube of truth that you turn on and what's on there is impartial and it's just being fed to you and, you know, they report, you decide.
Yeah.
Every single thing that makes it in front of your screen is a choice. And I think for as much as, I mean, you're right to say this is Jesse's vision of it, and I think there are aspects of it that are tweaked, and there are some helpful and necessary respites of comedy, you know, with the wasabi and everything. But I think broadly, this is true. They are making, this is a sausage factory.
Yeah.
And they're making the product that they want. And how it gets covered and the slow drip of how it gets covered too, right? Like, I can't believe I'm saying this. As I'm talking to you, I kind of want to watch the episode again, just structurally, because the first you know, it does these very smart things where it's a slow drip of, is there some intimidation? Well, we're not sure. Is there some unrest? We're not sure. But it's rooted initially, once again, in Kendall's lived experience, his family experience, right? Once again, Rob is like, I don't feel safe.
Yes.
But whose side is not making her feel safe?
Right.
Where's the unrest coming from? Who is the architect of it? And at the beginning of the episode, it's revealed that it's Kendall, and he's doing it for the good of something. You know, he's asking for protection. And we end the episode where the root of the unrest, once again, is ultimately going to fall on Kendall.
Right.
It is his fault. But yeah, there's this sort of percolating feeling. What's the fire? Well, how are we going to report the fire? And oh, this is actually a democracy imperiling incident, or it's an opportunity.